Right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome our members and officers. And for once, we seem to have another full house of our residents and other interested people from the borough, which is great. So it's nice to see you. And I'd like to welcome as well all the residents and other people who may be watching on the internet on our YouTube channel. My name's Councillor Corinna Smart. I chair the Planning Committee. And as people speak, you can probably tell who they are, but most people will either say their name or I'll be saying their name anyway, so you'll be able to catch them. Okay, so moving on. Apologies for absence. Have those from Councillor Samia Chowdhury. You've got them. Good. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. So that's two. Okay. Thank you. Declarations of interest under Town Planning Code of Practice or any other communications from members. We've obviously had a number of objections on item 4, the Unit 1, Challenger Road, which we had from the previous meeting and maybe some others in time since then. And we've had some communication about item 5. I've had communication about item 6 from the applicant, basically stating what is stated in the report. And I've seen, as opposed, I'm going to declare it, I've seen quite a number of comments from residents in Chiswick about the last item on our agenda. Mainly positive. And I won't quote the quotes that have come back, but they seem to be welcoming the hotel there. There is a very specific note in the addendum report correcting a couple of comments from the Gunnersbury and, I can never remember their names. That's the one. Mari's is happy with what it says now, so that's covered her comments there. So we will meet that when we get there. Okay, so I'm just hoping everyone's got their addendum report and they've got their main papers. Okay, are there any other declarations of interest? Yes, right. Okay.
Chair, I've had communication with residents of Broadwalk. Yeah.
Councillor Harleen Atwell-Hill. You need to put your mic on.
I've been contacted by the church itself and residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mel Collins. Thank you. Councillor Belwald. Sarah.
I've also been contacted by residents from Broadwalk.
Okay. Is that everybody? And I know that's lots of people nodding as we went through there. So that's been noted by Wendy. Okay. Okay, so minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of October, pages 7 to 10. Can I just have any corrections that anybody wishes to raise? First of all, any corrections? No, doesn't appear to be any corrections. Thank you. And so therefore, are there any matters arising?
Chair.
Yes, Councillor Tony Lukey.
Look, I was a bit animated at the last meeting, for which I apologise. And I should like to advise the planning committee regarding my use of the word kids when I referred when asking an officer collective to concentrate on improvements to planning enforcement and reporting methods. This was in no way meant as a slur to staff working their way through their planning careers. It's a turn of phrase I've often used at meetings with as diverse characters as Councillor Sharma, Lambert, Rajawat, Garawal, and residents. I do apologise to any officers in attendance at last month's meeting who felt aggrieved or belittled. It was never my intention.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tony Lukey, for that. I'm sure that's going to be relayed back to other officers who were present. Thank you, Matthew, for that. Okay, so can I sign this then as a true record? That looks like that's agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so, okay, we're now going to move on to the planning applications for decision tonight. Okay, first of all, just to say that on the first item, Unit 1, Challenge Road, Feltham, we have objectors from the residents, we have a local ward councillor, and we have the applicants. Okay, each of those will be getting 5 minutes. So if there's only one objector, so that will be 5 minutes, and the applicants will have their 5 minutes between them. Okay, so we'll move on to that item now. Okay, so can I have the objector? What I'm going to do is we'll take the objector, then I'll take the ward councillor, and then I'll open it up for questions of either of the objector or the councillor from the members of the planning committee. Okay, so Charles Esner, thank you. You'll be warned 30 seconds before the end of your 5 minutes, and your 5 minutes will start when you start. So you just have to get yourself, it might be easier if you move the names off that table. Don't worry about that. That's fine. Yeah, that's lovely.
I don't know if you've got our slides, our pictures.
Okay, yes.
They could be shown at any time because I don't really refer to them.
Okay, right.
Right, I'll start now then. Right, Portland Crescent was built in 1958 to house officers from Feltham Young Offenders Institution. The properties are now passed into general ownership. The yard of Unit 1 Challenge Road backs directly onto properties on the north side of Portland Crescent, affecting 12 family properties on that side of the road and 14 on the opposite side. In the late 80s, Challenge Road was redeveloped into a trading estate. Planning permissions were granted, but restrictions were put in place to the permitted use and hours of operation of the units, particularly relating to Unit 1. These conditions were imposed at that time in order to safeguard the environmental amenities of residents of Portland Crescent. Since that time, representatives of Unit 1 have made several attempts to vary the restrictions on the permitted hours. These have all been rejected by the council. The 2006 application was appealed to the planning inspectorate, and the inspector who visited the site ruled that the existing terms and hours of usage should be upheld, and any variation to these would be detrimental to the welfare of neighbouring residents. The current proposals to change the use of Unit 1 from storage to general industrial use is a further attempt to override these restrictions. The proposal is ill-defined and will provide no limit to the activities that would be allowed. Permission to change the use of this unit would give the current and future tenants the ability to interpret the usage as they please. Residents believe that changing the terms of usage would generate additional traffic to and from Unit 1. There will be increased noise, light, and air pollution. Residents already suffer from these types of pollution from HGVs using Challenge Road, which affects their health. Few complaints have been made to the council because residents feel that complaints regarding the noise and out of permitted hours use have not been heeded over the years, so there is little point in complaining. Anecdotal evidence has been given in previous letters of objection. The current tenants of Unit 1 already appeared to be paying no regard to the existing permitted usage conditions, which restricted storage. They have filled the yard with a very large number of commercial vehicles that back directly onto gardens in Portland Crescent. They have installed very bright security lights, which are on all night, disturbing the sleep of adjacent residents. Challenge Road itself is already very congested and highly dangerous, and is constantly used by fast-moving HGVs. Residents use this road to gain access to the entrances to the south side of Bedford Lakes Country Park, which is located there. Regarding the acceptability in principle of the application, residents believe that the owners and tenants are attempting to change conditions of Unit 1 by stealth. They have constantly applied for changes in conditions, and these conditions were originally imposed to safeguard the environmental amenities of nearby residential properties. Residents believe that the likely consequences of change of use are contrary to sections of the Hounslow Plan and the London Plan, and as detailed in the earlier letters of objection to this application. It would be in breach of undertakings and precedents set by previous rulings from the Council and the Planning Inspectorate. It will be clearly to the detriment of long-suffering residents of Portland Crescent and the surrounding roads. We ask you to take into account the points made in our previous letters of the 28th of May, 31st of July, and the 12th of October 2021. Once again, the residents of Portland Crescent urge you to reject this planning application.
Thank
Have
you.
you got any pictures? If you can see from the pictures, that's the garden, and you can see the lorries in the yard backing straight on to the wall of a Portland Crescent garden. Got any others? That's the lights at night, which have only been recently put up, and you know, not very pleasant to have those shining in your bedroom window. Anything else? Lot more lorries jammed in the yard. Lorries in the yard. Funny sort of storage. I presume those lorries are being stored. Okay.
That's it. That's it. Thank you
you.
very much. That's okay. If you sit, yeah, you can sit down, and then when we actually going to ask the questions, you can come back up. All right, it's up to you. Right, and over to the councillor Mohammed Umar. Nice to see you tonight. Okay. Again, we'll start the 5 minutes that you're allowed. When you start, that'll be.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm Councillor Mohammed Umar, Councillor for the Felton West Ward. I'm sure Charles has already touched on a few of the key or crucial points that will have negative impact on the local residents or directly within the vicinity of the development. So therefore, I wish to object to this planning application on the grounds that it will be to that of deterrent of the local area and the residents. And Unit 1 literally borders properties on the existing residential estate. Granting this application would result in a significant increase in commuter traffic from the proposed workforce, causing harm to the local residents in the form of road safety implications and increased pollution in the air quality and noise. I believe this would be in contravention of the Hounslow Plan concerning air quality. I would like to remind the Planning Committee that matters relating to Unit 1 have been subject to several previous planning applications and appeals that have been considered and objected. Some of the reasons for objections are as follows. I believe that it would be unreasonable to change the use of Unit 1 from storage to general industrial use because these premises back onto a large residential estate. The residential estate existed before Unit 1 was built, and conditions of use and hours were imposed on Unit 1 and other units on Challenge Road. At the time, in order to protect the local residents, those restrictions were put in place. I believe that the increased level of noise generated by the change of Unit 1 will be excessive and constitute to a serious nuisance and disturbance to the peace of the residential area. Also, I believe that the change of Unit 1 will generate excessive additional traffic to and from these premises, which will create additional noise, nuisance, congestion, air pollution, etc. This will present additional and detrimental safety implications to the local residents on existing traffic congested local roads. I urge you to consider the likely impact of this application will have on living conditions of the local residents in terms of noise, nuisance, pollution, and also from the increased traffic. I believe that this application is contrary to and does not comply with the Hounslow's local plan policies, regarding the noise and air pollution and quality of life of the residents. Some of these policies, such as policy EQ4, the air quality, referring to, for instance, it doesn't comply with clauses A, C, D, E, and various others, which actually look into assessing the potential air quality impacts of development proposals, etc., and various other clauses which are air quality issues, which is clause 9.7, 9.8, and various others. Furthermore, the restrictions on use of Unit 1 was set out in the original planning consents, which allowed the industrial units in Challenge Road to be built. These were put in place at the time to protect the residents of Portland Crescent and the existing residential estate. Previous planning applications have been submitted by representatives of the owner of Unit 1 to extend the hours of use to change the usage. These were rejected at the time by the council. The relevant references are as follows. I mean, there's various references that have already been submitted as part of the objection. The 2006 applications were appealed to the planning inspectorate by the applicant. The planning inspectorate clearly ruled that the existing terms and hours of usage should be upheld and that any variation would be to the detriment of the welfare of the neighboring residents. With this ruling in mind, the council rightly rejected the subsequent 2014 application. As the circumstances have not changed, it is clear that the current application should be rejected by the council. Failure to do so would be contrary to the sections of the Hounslow Plan and the London Plan, and in breach of undertaking and precedents set by the previous rulings from the council and planning inspectorates, and clearly to the detriment of the long-suffering residents of Portland Crescent and the surrounding roads. Finally, as Charles already touched, many of the local residents suffer there are residents who suffer from asthma and several other serious health conditions, and having poor quality or increasing the industrial usage of the area from storage to general usage of industrial will definitely increase and obviously deteriorate the air quality, and therefore will not be in the benefits of the local residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing. Okay. Right, we're open now for questions of either the local councillor or our local resident. I'll start with Councillor Alan Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was the member who called this in. It was an officer delegated decision, but given its history and the amount of correspondence we had as members from residents down in the bottom end of Feltham, I thought it was worthwhile bringing this to committee. And I thank committee for its indulgence on that, Chair. This is an historical case, isn't it, Charles? As I see it, I remember Councillor John Cooper mentioning it to me 15 years ago. And
yes, well,
if I can just say
sorry.
a few things. And that's what we've got to remember. There is an historical perspective to this. The key thing about this is the change of usage, as I see it, from essentially storage to industrial use in the respect of Unit 1, which in previous applications was denied or rejected. But we've got to get at the truth here. So can I ask you, and you're obviously speaking for the residents there, in terms of noise, we know about the potential and the actual in terms of the traffic, but in terms of the noise from the industrial usage as it is today, could you describe that to the committee, but for someone who may be living in that garden that you featured in the slides? Because I think sometimes we need first hand. The
application of industrial usage hasn't actually been granted. The usage currently is for storage. The applicants have presumed they're going to get this application through and have filled the yard up with their trucks, which I presume they work on. There is noise because the vehicles are constantly moved. There's roller shutters there that are constantly being moved up and down, and there's work done on the vehicles in the yard.
Yeah, the industrial noise that we've got at the moment, how would you describe that? Because that would be exacerbated by this.
Yeah,
I
it would be
assume.
exacerbated. Yes, I mean previously it was just used as a warehouse for storage. I presume storage means warehouse, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're moving from warehouse to some sort of.
What does the industrial activity sound like at present in the bits that are carrying out industrial activity?
Well, it's noisy. Yeah, sure.
I mean, penetrating through.
Yeah, sure.
There's evidence
It
here
particularly
penetrating through
affects the
buildings.
residents of 26, 24 and 26, 24 and 22. The backs,
That
as you saw from the pictures, back
Specifically.
straight onto the yard. They're right up against their garden wall.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Mitchell, could you turn your, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Can I just remind members, can you speak through the chair, please, rather than enter into a conversation? I do understand why that happened, but so that's why I let it go. Okay, but please remember that. Councillor Tony Lukey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can someone put the pictures up of the trucks backed onto number 22, please? That one. So tell me how often this happens and how whether these trucks move or they're just kept there in regularly, and if you can tell us how many at any one time there might be within the site there.
Well, I went around there that day. I would say there's about 50 trucks in that yard, 40 or 30 to 50 trucks. Obviously, they're not moved all the time, but you know, they weren't there before and they are now.
Okay. A few more, Chair. On the in your presentation, you said you got fed up with reporting noise, or your neighbours got fed up with reporting misdemeanors and on the site. When was the last time you did that? Because on page 20 of the report, it says council's complaints records have been checked and we are unable to find any specific complaints relating to noise from Unit 1. Sorry, hang on. Sorry.
Okay,
when you have reported them in the past, what has happened and what might have happened in the past that has put you off reporting them this time?
Well, it wasn't actually me and my wife who actually made any applications, but I would say more generally that the previous tenants there, they were acceptable because their usage was storage. They used it as a warehouse. But these current tenants have moved on from that and want this general industrial use, which the essence of the matter is we don't find that acceptable.
And
Supplementary, right? Sorry.
yeah, sorry, Chair. Look, on this is mainly for councillors and pages. But to refer to as well. Number pages 16 to 17, 18, 18, and 19. The various refusals that have happened over a period of time. That's when it came last time to this committee. Last time, I thought, well, this does appear. This does appear cheeky. I might have used a different word that some people didn't like, but it might appear cheeky that it just keeps coming back with the same requests. What representations have been made between by residents, yourselves, and others on the I think it's 2005 noise, refused because of noise, twice, delivery hours. In 2006, environmental. I'm doing you a favour here. Environmental amenities won't be safeguarded. 2007. Visually intrusive. 2007. Hours of operation. 2006. Another one. The deliveries and hours. 2007. Deliveries again in 2015 between the hours of 8 o'clock and 6 in the morning, and you can go on there. What representations did you make then that you felt confident with there that you don't feel confident with now, and you disagree with the officer's recommendation on this.
What do you mean, the previous planning applications?
Yeah, which were turned down.
Yeah, that's right. They were turned down.
Yeah. So
Well,
what's the difference now? Well, what do you see as a difference?
Well, the essence of the matter is that these restrictions, when they built Challenge Road and Shield Road, the original applicants were desperate to get the planning consents through. They fell over backwards. They even put money in to finance the building of Bedfont Lakes Country Park. They were desperate. They'd do anything to get this application through. And one of the restrictions was on the hours of use and the usage of Unit 1. Well, 30 years on, nothing's changed, has it? Why should tenants and landlords try and change this? There's nothing's changed. We're all still in Challenge Road, it's in Portland Crescent, and the restrictions on Unit 1 should stay because that was what was agreed in the first place.
Okay, Councillor Guy Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple of things that you said. I think you suggested that they're already doing this, carry out work on these wagons in the yard. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I've shown the pictures. I mean, they
Yeah,
feel.
but the pictures show them parked there.
Yeah, I know, but that's what they're there for, isn't it? They're not just running a car park, are they?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I think
they're there because they bring them into their workshop to repair them or do maintenance on them.
Okay, so I mean, there's nothing to stop them under current planning parking lots of lorries in there whilst they wait to put them into their existing workshops, actually. And that's
Well, I mean,
that's what they're doing. But
they're there because they've got a number of units, and the basic business is to maintain and repair commercial vehicles.
No, I understand that. I understand that. So I was going to ask another question, because one of the things that is quite stark from your pictures is that, you know, it doesn't look to me like any attempt has been made to soften the fact that you've got a big industrial unit with bright lights, not very far from your garden. Has there been any discussion about that?
No. I mean, this is another bit of a cheat that they preempted or pre-assumed this is going to go through. This is all, you know. They've obviously the landlords have let this out on the premise that it can be used for general industrial use, where the restriction is it's only for use of a warehouse. They've let this out to these tenants, just totally assuming that you guys are going to rubber stamp this and not listen to the local residents who don't like it at all.
Okay, but my question was about, have you made any attempt, I mean, or have the landlords made any
No, they've had no contact with the landlords, no.
to say, you know, actually, it will be more acceptable. I'm not saying it will be acceptable, but it will be more acceptable if they...
No, all we've ever had was a letter from Hounslow Council saying that the planning application has gone in,
Okay.
and we then, you know, put in our objections,
Okay, thank
which
you.
has now got to this stage.
Thanks.
We've not heard a thing from the
Okay.
landlords or tenants at this Unit 1. No, not a thing, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rajwinder Sidhu.
Thank you, Chair. This planning application comes with lots of conditions on that. Do you not feel that these conditions are actually helping your situation? The conditions from 3 to 6, which you are saying things, and council is restricting to these.
Well, we've got no confidence that any of these restrictions or conditions that they say would be adhered to.
Sorry, Chair. Why you feel that?
Well, the way they've approached this matter so far. I mean, without having any planning permission to do so, they filled a yard up with vehicles, stuck up security lights, and sent the local residents up the wall.
Thank you.
Councillor John Todd.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. Dealing with the lights, you'll say they're security lights.
Well, I presume they're security lights, yeah.
Have you made any approach about that lighting?
Well, we've had, what are we supposed to do? Just walk in and say, turn them off or something? What are we supposed to do?
Well, the option's yours.
They wouldn't do that, would they?
Well, I don't know because I don't know either sides, but I know you've given us a very eloquent history.
Well, I don't think, well, I mean, you know, they've gone ahead and done this without planning permission, without getting the respective permissions. What can you do about that?
Can I be more specific? I mean, we've got to make sure we comply with the planning regulations. There was a planning application approved in 2010. On page 18 of the report, paragraph 3.9, which permits a change of use of the unit in question. Are you aware of that?
Well, the usage, well, surely the usage at the moment is storage.
Okay, but the council planning officer is relying on, I'll read it if you want, it's paragraph 3.9, change of use of part 1 of unit, referred to as unit 1A, from B8 storage distribution to B2 general industrial and incorporation of unit 1A into unit 2. But anyway.
That's 2010.
Correct, yes.
Well, what was it, turned down or what?
No, it was approved.
What?
It was approved.
Well, what are we doing? What's this current? Well, if it's all approved, why are we here today? You know, I mean, it doesn't make much sense, does it?
My colleague's saying it's only part, but it's, I think what the council's doing is citing it as
all I know is there's been 2 applications over the years for the change of hours of use, which were turned down by, you know, the planning committee and the inspector.
Charles, that's very clear. And if I can interrupt,
I'm not aware of any previous application for change of use.
Okay, well, it's in the papers, but I won't push it further. But the point you make is absolutely right. In September 15, they made a further application and it was restricted. Okay, Charles, thanks.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I didn't see anybody else. Michael, no, you're fine now. Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you both very much indeed. You can both go and sit down now. Okay, so it's now over to the applicants. I have Mark Kelly and Jason Mole. If you'd like to join, you have 5 minutes between you, and it's up to you how you determine. You'll be told 30 seconds before the end. Okay, so in your time, and the timing will start when you do.
Well, Madam Chairman, good evening, members of the Planning Committee. My name is Mark Kelly. I'm the agent for the applicant. I'm accompanied here tonight by Mr. Jason Mole, Managing Director of CARCOM, who can take any questions raised during your deliberations regarding the operations at the site, and so clearly the conversation the members have just had with the member of the public. We would both have loved to have been here last month when initial concerns were raised following your very exhausting debate beforehand, but unfortunately your protocols did not permit it. Hopefully we can now address these concerns, although we've not been party to seeing the representations. All we've seen is a summary in the report. So there are some issues which I've just heard which weren't summarised, and I'll come to those points in this presentation. CARCOM essentially is an accident repair and fleet refurbishment business serving the local community and national supermarkets that's been located in the estate for some 18 years. However, I must point out they are not the previous applicant that's been referred to with regard to the land in question. It employs 61 full-time members of staff, 41 who live within a 10-mile radius of the site. Not only has the business carried out its part during the pandemic in keeping the home food delivery vehicles in shape that society's had to rely on, but also serves a whole raft of other businesses and yourselves, Hounslow Borough Council. The business has seen its demand for services grow rapidly over the last few years, and this need is why this proposal is required. Their activities typically involve what I describe as strip and refit, but not servicing, All when welding and panel work takes place in the existing facilities, and it's not proposed here. The proposals involve about 3 to 4 vehicles a day on average coming into the yard for storage. And just to emphasize, no works will take place in that yard area. They're only proposed in the building. So in essence, this is a local business employing local people, serving the local community, carrying out a benign light industrial activity. We thank officers and commend them for the thoroughness and detail contained in their report. And hopefully members quite clearly will have digested its content. In particular, I'd like to draw attention to paragraph 1.1, where it states the proposal represents an acceptable scheme, is compliant with local plan policies, and is not considered to have any unreasonable impact on adjoining land uses. Paragraph 4.3, where it says there are no record of complaints from nearby residential properties. However, I do acknowledge what the gentleman did say there about not actually raising those complaints to the relevant authorities. Paragraph 6.5, confirmation that the site lies within a designated locally significant site. And paragraph 10, where it says it's considered the proposal would represent an appropriate use of the site. However, my clients are aware of the concern of the local community, particularly regard to noise. There is a hustle and bustle in the estate, and there's also an aggregates facility about 200 yards to the side of the road, and there is a lot of crashing and banging from that, I can tell you. Notwithstanding, during the formulation of proposals, we were conscious of the potential local sensitivities, so we deliberately excluded the use of the hard standing for anything else other than storage of vehicles. So the vehicles come in, and they only go into the unit when they're required for servicing. And just to clarify the point, part of the building is permitted, and there is an opening between the two. The applicants are proposing to keep movements in the yard to a minimum and to the shortest time scale through the implementation of operational logistics plan, and that is one of the conditions that's been proposed by officers. To this end, we're also happy to accept planning conditions as proposed and to work with officers where it's felt necessary to put in place protocols such as boundary planting, perhaps a hotline to the residents, and some control over the security lighting. This is the first time that's been raised this evening. I think hours of operation was mentioned as well. Again, that can be conditioned. I'm a bit surprised about the comments about air pollution, because I say all the activities take place in the building. Spraying already takes place on the other side of the permitted area. And I say, Mr. Mold's here for any questions if members want to ask us. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, some questions. Right, I've got a number of you, so if you bear with me. Councillor Alan Mitchell, I've got your mail.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, good evening, gentlemen. Nice to see you.
Good evening.
Yes, I called this in to actually deal with this historic problem. I'm glad it's being aired tonight, and I hope we're going to find a resolution one way or the other, because that's the whole point of the committee being here. A couple of points in the officer's report. It talks about increased traffic is unlikely to have any impact on road pollution or more noise on the network. Can I ask you, if you extend the industrial remit of this particular part of Unit 1 and capacity, that means more activity and by definition more noise. That's one point. And the second one is on the roller blinds, which I don't think anyone's actually made a point of, which is a thing which you hope to separate, to run up and down to let the vehicles in and out. How noisy are they? Has that been tested? And will not entering and leaving exacerbate the noise and activity by definition that we've already got? That's been the points made by Charles and Councillor Romare. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. In reference to the increased volumes, we did actually rent a unit across the road further up, which we used for the last 4 or 5 years. So the volumes haven't changed greatly. All of the home shopping vehicles will go in at the far end. There is a logistic plan. We have a perimeter around the whole of the building, which can be seen on one of the plans that basically be a one-way system for all the smaller vehicles. The yard itself would be used for storage of vehicles, nothing else, no work in there. In reference to your shutters up and down, they make a noise, nothing major. If you go to the bottom of the yard, you don't hear it going up and down. It does allow for some of the noise internally, but that area of the workshop is planned to be for very, very minor works. The main panel work and paint work happens in Unit 2 at the far end of the building. This will be literally for strip and fit works, removing of stickers and replacement of stickers, and basically strip and fit of vehicles.
Supplementary? Fine.
Yeah, thank you for that. So very simply, to what degree would you say the noise would be exacerbated by the increased industrial use in Unit 1?
Honestly, not by a great deal, if any. When the shutters are down and you stand at the bottom of the yard, you don't hear anything. What you do hear is the volume of traffic going up and down the road, 100%. And some of the units across the road are using forklifts at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it does increase the work noise. From our point of view, we do move vehicles. The plan, the overall plan will be 2 or 3 movements a day to bring vehicles in, shut the shutters down, and that will be it. And that will be a maximum. In reference to vehicles coming in, the larger vehicles would come into that yard, and they would come in, if we're lucky, 2 or 3 a day, if it's a good day, and that's the larger vehicles. And then that will be the only times that there will be movements within that yard.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mel Collins.
Hello.
This is, yeah, I think we're there. Well done, chaps. Thank you, Chair. Yep. At the very end of your presentation, gentlemen, you glossed over the contact that you had had with local residents and the lighting. So I'm going to take one at a time, and then through the chair, I will ask my other questions if I may. Can you tell us, or be a little bit more expansive on the consultation that you actually had with the local residents and how?
Well, just to clarify, there wasn't any, to be honest with you. What I was actually saying is, I think in terms of if this application was permitted, it's certainly an opportunity to start that dialogue.
Thank you. And on the same vein, Charles made great reference to the security lighting. Did you seek any permission or guidance from the council to install such lighting in terms of overflux onto the nearby residents and properties?
In fairness, they were already fitted by Renus, and we just turned them on when we got there. They're actually only over the shutters onto the building, but having seen the pictures, agreed, they are quite bright, and I don't think we have any issues.
As I said, I think we can prepare to take a planning condition on that. Yeah.
Chair, could we take note of that and perhaps come
It
back
is,
to
it's
it?
noted.
Thank you. Chair, through you, now on to my other questions, if I may. Can we clarify once and for all, how many freestanding lorries outside of the building for repair do you have at any one time, and can you give a maximum?
I would guesstimate, looking at the pictures there, you're probably looking at about 30 vehicles. It will depend on the size of them. And that maximum, you may have 5 or 10 more, but the system is with the plan that they be going in. No vehicle comes back out into Unit 1. The plan would be to go out through Unit 2 and Unit 1A into the yard at the far end where they'd be prepped and taken out.
Okay, thank you. And Hounslow is striving very hard to be a cleaner, greener borough. I'm a little concerned that when the lorries are inside, and there's obvious reasons for that, but what dispersal facilities do you have for all of the pollution within the building itself?
So we comply with the environmental pollution for Hounslow Borough Council and get the certificate every other year, I think it's done at the moment. We also basically we comply with all the environmental policies. We are looking at going completely green. We run solar panels on the roof. Everything we do at the moment is leading towards carbon neutral, which is one of the major things that everybody's talking about at the moment. We use green energy, all recycled, and we recycle 65% of anything we create. And we're in the process of actually we've just started recycling a lot more of the plastics and rubbish and cardboard and things, which is going into where we're going as the next phase of the business, just to try and keep everything as clean and green as possible.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, my last question. Charles, in the early part of his presentation, made great play of a greater movement of traffic in the area, which obviously would create more pollution. But it's the traffic movements that I'm concerned about, although obviously I am with the pollution. But can you give us any idea whatsoever what increased traffic movements there are or will be if we approve this application this evening, compared to A, what it is at the moment, and B, what it was?
There will be movements
Thank
in the
you.
yard, without a shadow of a doubt. The arenas who were previously in there had between 5 and 10 lorries in and out a day. So I've been in contact with them before we moved in there, because we didn't want to upset anybody or make many changes. They had trailers and lorries coming in to load up, and they'd be going out of that same unit sort of thing. I would think from opening the gates, in our comparison, it would probably be half that. In reference to moving the vehicles, we would move 10 to 15 vehicles into the building. And once they're in the building, they're turned off, and that's it. And they'll literally be started, moved in, and that would be it.
Chair, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Okay, Councillor Guy Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I was quite struck by the photos that Charles showed. I would like to live in the shade of those lights, and also in the shade of those lorries, which are right up to his fence and jutting over it. So it might be regarded as neighbourly to talk to the neighbours about the concerns they might have, and that's something you haven't done so far. So, or it seems you haven't done.
Yeah, we accept that. There is actually a 2 to 3 metre gap between the back fence of the yard and the back of the houses, I think. And but yeah, I say we could accept a planning condition to put some trees in or planters at the end of the yard. That would soften. I think you raised the point earlier that would just seem to soften the boundary. Certainly would dissipate the sort of the perception of the activities.
And one of the other things we've been discussing is perhaps that we actually then leave a 5-metre barrier space to move the vehicles further away from the fence to actually, again, soften that. And the lighting, in fairness to the lighting, it's there, doesn't necessarily have to be there. Perhaps it should be spotlight when someone passes. If someone were in the yard at any time, the light would come on in emergency in the dark. But again, we're open to anything that you suggest that might help the residents as well, because the last thing we want to do, we've been on the training estate for 18 years now. We don't want to upset the neighbours, because they're very important in part of the community.
Okay, but I think from what was said earlier, and from some of the body language that I see, you already upset the neighbours.
And we only apologise for that.
Questions, please. Comments later. Thank you.
So can I just clarify as well? As I said, we weren't aware that there had been complaints. As the gentleman said, he didn't think he was getting anywhere by raising complaints, and we weren't aware. But it doesn't stop communication starting now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harleen Atwell here.
You were just saying about planting some trees, maybe lifting up the fence a bit higher so that the light doesn't come through.
Sorry, Harleen, you need to move your mic in a bit because couldn't hear
maybe
that.
a few trees, maybe lifting the fence up so the lighting doesn't come
Well, again, that'd be in consultation with the neighbours. A very high fence can also be intrusive. But yeah, I mean, it could be possible. Anything could be possible. I think perhaps a combination of the two. Yeah.
Councillor John Todd.
Hi. I'm slightly confused at how long you've been on the site. You said 18 years. But you didn't have this unit.
No. So 18 years in industrial estate.
Okay. So you were never a party to the previous applications?
No party at all. No, we've been on site about 3 or 4 months since the application was made. We've used the yard for storage, and we're just waiting for the due process.
Well, I find your term storage ambiguous. I'm testing my memory. I think you said early on that you'll accept 3 to 4 vehicles in your building, whatever, and then you just jumped it up to 10 in your last answer. Could you clarify that?
Yes, sorry. We'd bring 3 to 4 of the larger vehicles into the yard through the gates of a day, but we'd take 10 to 15 vehicles in because we've been taking the smaller home shopping vehicles that come in and are already authorised in and straight round and in.
Is what, 2 days, 3 days?
Varies on the element of it, but yeah, so it can be months pending parts issues at the moment. But yeah, within a week, most of the vehicles are turned around.
I mean, you've heard Charles, and we've seen the photographs. Would you accept that it seems to be more of a storage place for vehicles than actually a repair yard, or a combination of both?
Yes, definitely storage. I mean, that's all it's used for. They're put there until they're taken into the workshops for the works to be carried out.
Okay, thank you. Can I move on, Chair? Yeah. I'm looking at paragraph 12. I want to clarify the hours operation. So if I look at paragraph 7.12, it says no deliveries, loading and unloading shall take place between prescribed times. Now, that doesn't include repairs. So do you have a limitation on people working in the sheds?
Yeah, the hours are, we have no issues with those whatsoever. No one starts till 8 and they all gone by 5, even 3:45 on a Friday. So the hours aren't any issue to us whatsoever.
Okay, well, I'm going to suggest, subject to the view of the committee, that we include that hours of operation rather than just deliveries, loading and unloading, and that's ancillary to the actual role. Would you agree with that?
Yep, I would agree with that. I may be on site till about 5 o'clock on a Friday, but all the lads are gone by 3:45.
Okay. But you've got no intention of operating a 24-hour?
No intention whatsoever of increasing the hours in any way, shape or form, and would comply with all the existing condition of hours.
Okay. The basic question I come back to is in the summary, and your colleague, Mr. Kelly, raised it. Your argument and our officer's argument relies on going ahead because in 2010, a third party got permission for the other half of the unit to be industrial. So I'm not quite, why do you say that precedent is binding on your application now?
I don't really understand the question.
Oh, it's fairly obvious from your face. Okay, can I start again? If the summary says, have you got the report there or not?
Oh, I thought you were referring to what I said, not rather than report. Sorry, the officer's report, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Paragraph 1.
Sorry, can
Yes.
we skip that one because that's directly aimed at the officers, not they can't answer for what our officers have put down. That summary is from our officers, so that's a question you're going to ask Matthew later. Is that all right, Councillor John Todd? If you could rephrase it, because
can I try?
You could try.
The lady on the left looks so angry at me. I'm frightened she might give me a
Oh,
whack.
come on, Councillor John Todd.
Okay.
You know I'm never nasty to you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm inelegant. There's a precedent in 2010, yes, which shows that there was a variation from storage to industrial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just asking you, I'm not trying to imply any criticism of the officers. Why do you say that gives you the justification to have that change?
I don't think it gives us justification for anything. We're making an application in the hope that it will be agreed and that, we'd, comply with everything that you ask us to do. We don't, nothing's expected.
Listen, I'll make no criticism of that answer, and on reflection, I should ask the officer, and I apologise for that. Okay, thanks very much.
Cheers, that's okay. And finally, Councillor Richard Foote.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, on the issue, I think John's covered most of the thing about the number of vehicles, but one of the issues that does concern me is you talk about 10 or 15 vehicles moving in. I haven't heard any comment about the delivery of spares and the movements of vehicles in delivering those spares, either on the hours of day or the kind of volume. So I don't know if you can add to that. And secondly, can I split that question, Chair? Would you? Yeah, okay, if you could answer that one.
Okay, no worries. If we went back to the plan, I don't know where we've got the picture of the overall plan of the whole of the units. Unit 4 and 6 is where all deliveries go into. So if you look at that one there, so the top left-hand corner of the triangle, if we go up further to the top of the building, it's all one unit. The right-angled jut to the left is where the deliveries go for the parts. So everything goes in and out of there between 8 and 5. And that's why the gate doesn't get opened very often, because it's only vehicles going in there. All the deliveries for parts and everything going at the top corner, away, well away.
There was just an element that was missing in terms of movements.
No, I understand fully.
Can I just then ask a question in relation to staff? I saw, and I think I can't quite find it now, but there was an item that talked about 61 full-time staff that I think you might have mentioned.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. Can you give us a breakdown of what that is like between management, office staff, and I'll call them engineers?
Okay, yeah. So there would be 35 to 40 workshop staff. We have 5 or 6 drivers, 2 window fitters. We have 4 in the parts team, 4 in the estimating team, and then 3 in the customer services side. There or thereabouts. I am.
Just, sorry, Chair.
Thank you.
Supplementary.
Yes, certainly.
So how your staff commute to the workplace?
There is a variety. There are cars. There are a lot that cycle because they all live locally, and there are 3 on motorbikes, and a number of them catch the bus and walk as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you both very much for that. I'd like
Thank
to
you.
take your seats, and I'll now hand over to our officer, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, excuse me. My name is Matthew Rees. I'm the Head of Development Management, and I'm sorry to haul you all back to the start of this process, but I just need to make sure that everyone's clear about what we're talking about. So this is the application site outlined in red. It's Unit 1 on Challenge Road. Those properties to the south are on Portland Crescent. Those are the ones that we're talking about. Numbers 24 being the one on the far western side of Portland Crescent on the northern side. Some images, but you've seen these already. So this is looking into the units. Those 2 roller shutter doors are what we've been talking about. They're on the south elevation of the building, looking towards the properties in Portland Crescent. And some elevations there. So again, you see the roller shutters. The existing front elevation is the south elevation, and then the side elevations. What I do need to explain, which I'll do through this plan, if that's okay, is that this is not a single unit. So we've been talking about units 1, units 2. There's unit 3, 5, 6. They're all within this same L-shaped building here. So this is looking at the L shape, the top of the L shape, the northern side of this building, that is where Unit 2 is. So that's where we've been talking about Unit 2. That, I believe, historically has had the industrial use. The middle section, just to the north of where this red line is Unit 1. That was in 2010. That was where they got planning permission to change from storage and distribution to industrial. It was not the section outlined in red at the moment. So they gained planning permission in the middle segment of that building to change the use to the use that's proposed on the current site at the moment. And now, obviously, the rest of the building is now proposed to convert from storage and distribution to general industrial, which would facilitate the works that we've been talking about. I think it's fairly clear what they're planning to do on the site. It's repairing fleet vehicles. So you can see lots of Sainsbury's lorries there. They drive them into the site. This is where they get repaired. I'll talk about the planning history then, if that's okay, because there's been lots of talk about the refusals on the site previous to this. All of those refusals listed are to do with the hours of operation, the hours of delivery. So the hours of delivery are proposed to remain the same, and that's a part of the planning conditions. So we aren't conflicting with the previous refusals on the site. And then I will talk about conditions, if that's okay. there are conditions concerning an operational management plan, which has been referred to. Delivery hours has been referred to. There is a condition stating that it will only be storage outside, no industrial work. So none of the general industry, none of the fixing of lorries would take place outside of the building itself, and that the roller shutter doors are kept shut at all times when not in use. So obviously, further conditions have been discussed. To do with external lighting, yeah, great. That sounds like a perfectly fine condition. So we would. There's no reason for us to suggest that that shouldn't be a part of a member's resolution if they see fit to do so. Boundary treatment has been talked about. I think, as the agent referred to, slightly tentative about changing the existing boundary treatment because it's right next to their back garden, so you don't necessarily want to raise it significantly. Because that may in turn do some damage to the properties themselves. But they did suggest voluntarily that there was a 5-meter barrier which they could keep free of vehicles, so then we could do the boundary treatment there, and then whatever planting, of course, that's all been volunteered as well. So now that's been volunteered by the applicant. There's no officer resistance. That seems to be a reasonable way to address those issues. And hours of use has been suggested as I think it was, sorry, excuse me, the planning condition was, I think it was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m, the one that's recommended. The agent then did volunteer to say that those the only, delivery and servicing was suggested between the hours of, was it 6 p.m. and 8 a.m, there'll be no servicing. That's the condition proposed. The applicant has now volunteered to say that that is hours of operation. So we could change that planning condition again if members to choose to do so, to say that it would not operate between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 a.m. That's reasonable as well. So that would be additional conditions for boundary treatment, external lighting, and to vary the opening hours as well. So the only other thing that I need to make clear at this point, which is actually very important to the application, is that this property, and indeed the whole of Challenge Road, is a locally significant industrial site. And this is always going to be the problem with this application and its conflicts with Portland Crescent. A locally significant industrial site is where we have to direct industry. It's where we seek to protect industry, including B1 uses proposed here and B8 uses as it is at the moment. So that's always going to be the problem that members come up against when you try and, if you were to try to refuse an application, it's completely contrary to policy to say you can't have an industrial use on that site. So our view is that we have to look to mitigation to overcome the concerns raised rather than refusal of the application, which is why you've got our recommendation at this point. So if that's okay, I'll leave it at that point and invite any questions.
Thank you. That's fine. Thanks, Matthew. Okay, questions. Right, go on, Councillor Alan Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. The local plan EQ5, Matthew talks about, seeks to reduce the impact of noise from noise generating activities. Could you tell us, has there been a noise assessment detailing current noise levels and the impact of the proposed noise levels through this industrial use following the increased activity, please? Is there any detail on that, please?
There hasn't, sorry, Councillor, and just to clarify, the reason behind that is it's where there's a change of use to a more harmful form of use. So on the basis that this is a locally significant industrial site, and the difference between storage and distribution and general industry, which is internal of the building, we're suggesting that there's not sufficient grounds for requiring that full-scale assessment. And just to reiterate, we did have an environment officer go down and visit the site and look at the site themselves. And obviously they're the people that enforce noise. They're the people that go around and measure noise on impacts on adjoining properties, and they didn't feel that it's going to be harmful as well. So they've undertaken that assessment.
I'm just looking round. Are there any other questions? Councillor John Todd, do you want to ask your question now?
My answer, thanks very much. Can I just go back to the clarify that condition of operations, please, Mr. Rees? Can I just get the relevant page in the report, if you can help me?
23.
Thank you. So we were saying on here, no deliveries, loading, unloading. That still carries on, and you're including operational hours overnight. Have I understood that correctly or not?
Yeah, so the condition is consistent with the previous use on the site, which is suggesting that there's no deliveries, unloading of vehicles outside of those hours or within those hours, sorry.
Yeah, that's where I think I'm slightly confused. what I'm concerned about, Mr. Mitchell, I think may agree with me, is the danger of it sliding into a 24-hour operation where vehicles are being repaired.
You could always say not, you could put in there a corollary
Well, I
a
did,
bit. I think what he wants to do is underline that, not 24-hour operation.
Yeah, I
condition,
mean,
as a condition,
we
'cause-
can
yeah.
come up with a slightly more firm condition now because of the applicant volunteered to say that no activity on the site between those hours, and that's far easier to enforce. Yeah.
If we could get, it needs to be, I think it just needs to be stronger, I think is what some of the members are suggesting, okay? Sorry, Councillor Guy Mitch, oh God, where am I going?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry,
I
Guy,
know who
would
you
you
mean,
believe
isn't
that
he?
we are supposed to be ward colleagues? Ridiculous. Councillor Guy Lambert.
Thank you, Chair. That's reassuring. I think that you sort of slightly poo-pooed the idea of the boundary treatment. I think my sense of it is a 5-metre gap would help, but a 5-metre gap filled with something carbon consuming and noise consuming would be a lot better than just a 5-metre gap. There's a 5-metre gap, and I think the applicant would be willing to go with that. I take the point about 20-foot high fence might not be regarded as very pleasant.
Yeah,
I mean, personally, I would like to see such a condition of some greenery in that 5-metre.
You're looking for a green wall, or are you just looking for just softer
shrubbery trees?
Shrubberies and stuff. Yeah, okay, thanks. Because obviously you've got to be aware of the height as well. Yeah, okay. Matthew, is that all right?
Yeah, so to submit a planting scheme within that. Yeah, if you were to recommend a condition for boundary treatment and a recommendation for a planting scheme within that area, then we'll work around that.
Okay. Sorry. Right, Councillor. Oh, sorry, Councillor Tony Lukey.
I'm sitting this side of you today. I'm trying to be unobtrusive. Look, I know. Look, the objectors, the neighbours, raised a number of issues. The applicants have acquiesced on those issues. It appears hours of operation, entire operation. I think the officers were listening to what was being said, and they don't need to ask us again. So it's the hours of operation, entire operation, outside and inside the boundary, inside the building, and which Mr. Moeller had agreed. They're happy to plant, so something there. And if there is scope, it's not just planting, gentlemen. It's maintaining as well, because we see this often that we set conditions in planning where with landscape and they're planted and they're just left alone. These should be maintained, and that should be in the condition too. And on the lighting, we need some better, we need some lighting management. And the applicant has said that they will they would install some automatic lighting, if you like. Hope you don't have too many foxes down there, Charlie. But where the lights will be activated when people are there. And those are the conditions we would rely on officers to write up. And also, Chair, in conjunction with, I think they need to be explained. And if they are accepted by the committee, I would recommend that Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Umair, residents and the applicants meet to discuss this too, and so they understand and approve. If that's okay with you, Alan and Mohammed, in order to just kind of tighten this up, because sometimes things come to this committee, we agree something, and they don't really get implemented, and they're not really monitored by us or our officers.
You were moving something, Councillor. Lukey, Councillor Lukey?
I would move those as addition, yes.
That's fine.
As
That's fine, yeah.
conditions.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people have commented on them already.
Yeah, I think we've got that far. Okay, Councillor Harleen Atwell-Hill, were you waving at me? No, I'm sorry, we can't accept that. You would like to move approval, thank you, subject to those conditions. Yes, okay. Have I got a seconder for that, please?
You would have.
Thank you. Councillor
I wanted
Atchburn.
to ask about another condition, but that's too late.
Sorry, well, no, it's not too late. Is there anything extra, Councillor Mel Collins?
Yes, we haven't actually addressed the problem of the noise pollution. We've just skated around that at all.
Yeah, I think the thing is, Mel, that if we accept what Kieran says about the traffic, that's part. Excuse me, sorry, I'm afraid you cannot comment, madam. Please, thank you.
Sorry,
or are
Chair.
we actually talking about noise on site?
On the site,
Right,
yeah.
on site. The part of that condition is that the works that go on is contained within the building. We have if they have got the environment certificate, as they say they have, which we can check, that should cover the noise. If it doesn't, then we can make sure that one of our enforcement officers, etc., and an environment can go down there and double check it when the actual work commences.
Yes.
Would you want that as a condition, Mel?
Yes, very
Okay,
much so.
that's fine.
But could I, because we've now put all these conditions in, could I ask that whether this, or assuming it's approved, but you can't assume anything till it happens, can I ask that all members actually see a list of the conditions when they're written up?
Oh, yeah, Mel, that will happen anyway, because those conditions should be in the minutes of the next.
Well, that's
the minute,
fine.
yeah?
Yeah, no,
Because that's what, well, that's not.
But these conditions are completely different, I think, than some of the conditions that we've agreed around this.
Yeah, what I've said, Mel, is that those conditions the new conditions, as it were,
yeah,
they will be part of the minutes of this meeting. Therefore, they will be recorded of what those what those conditions are, and that's what would happen. Okay.
Subject to that, Chair, can I second Councillor Luke?
Thank you very much, Councillor Mel Collins. Right. So, Councillor Lukey.
Sorry, just one more thing, and I understand this. I don't know. I don't know if the lady in the audience is alluding to this, and I forgot to mention it. We have a problem sometimes in yards with vehicles idling, and if there should be no idling. If you're going to start up a vehicle, you're not going to let it warm up or run it in out in the yard. You're going to take it inside. So that should be conditioned one way or another. There'll be no idling on site, or revving or anything like that. Start it up, take it in, shut the doors.
Yeah, yes, Councillor Tony Luke, you're absolutely right, and we have that across the borough anyway, and outside schools and various other areas, and we'll certainly have that there, and we can certainly make sure that we've got some signs anyway. That's certainly something we can add to that. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if there is idling, then they've got something. And if there is a dedicated complaints line, a phone number, which you did allude to, which will make sure that's everybody's got that as local residents, so they can, if they hear somebody doing it, because we all know that there's going to be one driver arrives, he's still listening to his radio program, and the only way of actually listening to it is turning your engine. You turn your engine off, and then you turn your engine on again to listen to it, and you keep warm. But they need not to be doing that. So that'd be really helpful. Yes? No idling conditions. Yep, absolutely. Okay, so with all those conditions, we have on the table approval, moved. So can I now see those in favour, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. Okay. Okay, can I therefore see any against? And can I see any abstentions? Okay, so there's, one abstention, okay. Okay, right, well, that has been approved with those conditions. Okay, so thank you all very much indeed. Okay, moving on to the next item where we do have objector. We are moving on to agenda item 5, the Orthodox Church Broad Walk. So I have two objectors, Mr. Kelsey and Mr. Dotha. Is that correct? I do apologise if I've mispronounced your names. Would you like to come up to the... There's two of you, isn't there? Okay, you have 5 minutes between you. I don't quite know how you're going to... You decide how you do that. There might be one of you speaking and then both of you ready to answer. Okay. Right,
Yes.
we will start the 5 minutes when you're ready to start, when you start speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm one of the residents living opposite the church premises where the new development is proposed. So I know at first hand what the current activities that are going on, difficulties faced by the residents at the moment. And I would just like to point out some of the points that arise from the residents to do with the proposal for the development, new development. Majority of the trips will be made from locations outside of the area. The proposed site has very poor access to public transport with lowest rating out of 6 too. Unfortunately, this means other alternatives for public transport are not available, and most of the drops will be via the private vehicles. 75% of the drop-offs are expected to be via private vehicles, as per the applicant himself. This is likely to be much more given the poor links, as I've mentioned in point 1. We think potentially 100% of the drops will be made via the private vehicles, potentially 68 plus trips on a daily basis. The parking situation on Broadwalk and surrounding areas are already at a breaking point. Pictures of evidence were sent in. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at those pictures. Commuters are also using Broadwalk and the surrounding areas to park and use the Piccadilly line to go into the town. This is a well-known problem already in the area. Locals often are able to pull out of their drives. Tensions are running high already. Additional traffic will increase the incidence, and peace and harmony in the area will be compromised. And I have experienced this personally myself at times, and I live opposite the church. Additional parking spaces are not planned on premises. Drop-offs and pickups will happen on very congested roads, the Almara Road, Broadwalk, surrounding roads, and this will create a very hazardous environment. There will be intense periods of pickup and drop-offs at times, coinciding with commuters going into London, parking their cars on Broadwalk. Services vehicles are also arriving, collecting rubbish and other vehicles. And locals, in fact, are also going out to work 7:30, which is a peak period, and arriving at 18:30, which coincides with the drops and pickups proposed. There has been no attempt made to consult the local community by the applicant. Detailed information has not been provided about any traffic flow, traffic management, how the drop-offs will happen, where they will happen, on the road, in front of the drives, on the footpaths, or indeed inside, where there is only one entrance into the premises and only one vehicle can get in and only another one can't get out. So difficulty will be turning around in a very short period of time, intense activity. Indeed, I have seen vehicles going into the premises already, which are tail right onto the Broadwalk, blocking the traffic. There is already a lot of HGV traffic flowing via Broadwalk due to restrictions on the Springwell Road at the moment. Any additional traffic will create a more hazardous environment. Air pollution and noise will be increased in the area, affecting residents, many of whom are shift workers at the airport.
I will now pass you over to Mr. Kelsey, who will go through some points and we'll take the questions at the end. Thank you.
Can I just let you know you've got less than a minute? There's 44 seconds. So if you can manage that in bullet points, and then we will be asking questions of you.
Okay. Thank you very much. What my friend told, and I was going to nearly tell you the same thing. And if it's not much time, I can't really start whole the story. And I already submitted the petition with the signature of 78 peoples. And this must be over on the table with you. And those things I don't think I have to review again. And as time is very less. And thank you very much for giving me the time to help me.
Thank you. Right.
Just one to add to
Oh,
that.
yes, sorry.
The petition, we still have time, if we have time. But the petition was signed by 78 neighbors and properties. And I have to say the difficulty has been due to the COVID situation. Many people were unable to sign this petition, but we have the backing of all the area on Broadwalk and Elmira Road. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Questions from members. I'm sure we've got some. Right. Sorry. Right. Councillor Gary Guru.
Could you let the committee members know, do you have a CPZ on Broadwalk? Car parking, controlled parking zone?
No.
So due to that, you have a lot of problem, people parking cars and going to the train station. Is that correct?
It is, because I live next door to the church.
Yes, okay.
And I suffer more than anybody else because they are all the time, the cars are parked and they're mostly blocking my drive. And it's very difficult for me to come out, and a lot of problems because I am suffering most, That.
Okay, the other question I would ask is, you just mentioned that you live next door to the church. If there is a nursery there, would the noise be of any nuisance to you or to the residents?
Yes, because it will start 7:30 in the morning, and it will go on whole day till in the evening till 6:30.
Right.
5 days, and then Saturday, Sunday, the church service. As this already so much, and that will will affect us.
Okay, Chair, can I ask another question? Mr. Kelsey, there are some objections here, quite a lot, and one of the objections is that the church at the moment hosts parties in the evenings. Is that true?
There are a lot of parties going there.
Right.
And even during the week, I noticed, the funeral service vehicles comes inside, and I don't think that will be convenient for the children, young children and future.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, they have a coffee shop which goes on till way past midnight, sometimes past midnight, and lights on all the time at night time. But we didn't mention that because that's besides the nursery.
That's one of the objections you have raised already. I've seen it.
There's already a lot of activity there, and like Mr. Kelsey also said, we had further down. I mean, we do sometimes see funerals taking place. We don't think it's appropriate environment for children to be observing that sort of environment all the time. This is a place of worship, and we've got no objection against that. Anything other than that, it's not appropriate.
Thank you. I have no other questions here.
Yeah. Councillor John Todd.
Good evening. Hello. Hi. Hello. I'll ask you some questions. I note from the application that the paragraph 724 that there are currently 19 car parking spaces available on site. What do you say about that?
I've got a comment about that.
Please.
And also it's proposed some play areas for children inside. So you got a very small space with 19 cars now. There is no additional car parks planned, as I observed. but there are planned play areas for children. So I would imagine that would make it difficult for people to turn around. They might be 18 or 17, say 19, but that's a very small area, and the children play areas in there as well. I would.
Can I also mention, I see on page 34 that in 7th of March 68, the hall was licensed for a children's day nursery.
1968.
Yes.
How many vehicles did we have in 1968?
Over 50 years ago.
That's over.
Not trying to be.
I mean, that's a very inconsiderate statement to make. I had to mention that in here. I had mentioned it further on. It's not. It's unfair comparison, in my view.
Sorry, you're
1968. We had very few vehicles. Now every household has 3-4 vehicles.
We've just looked at Google Map, which doesn't show a huge amount of parking in the road. But let's come back to my question. Your argument's based on drop-off. That seems to be the nub of it. On premises already given permission for a children's nursery. So are there any other reasons that you want to give?
The traffic is the main problem. The public transport is not good. It's known. I mean, it's well known.
We accept that. We accept the traffic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no other way of getting there, is there?
All through the day, there's a noise pollution there as well with the children. Can I just say one thing?
Yes, please. Yes.
Basically, it's a church, and they use
Excuse
it
me,
as a
sorry,
weekend.
you are?
Yeah,
What's your name, please?
Mr. Singh, Jaspal Singh.
Okay.
Basically, the church operates at the weekends. At the weekends, it's all chock-a-block. We don't get any peace at the weekends. Now they're going to come in the morning and in the evening. We're not going to get peace during the weekdays either. So, we need some sort of respite for the local community. So the drop-offs and everything, there's one entrance into the church and the same entrance out. And they say 17 spaces. What about the staff who's going to come and sit in and take up 10 of those spaces while?
Okay, that's a fair point, but I'm stating a bold statement of fact.
Yeah.
And you talk about, I mean, the drop-off would be what, 7:30, and then people would come back late in the evening.
And also, it's a nursery. Why is it running from 7:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening? In nurseries, are usually between 9 to 5, you see, as well.
That's a commercial decision. I can't really answer that. Okay.
No, but the point is, it's very intense drop-offs. I would not like 68 cars arriving in front of my house.
That's right.
Tailing up in the middle of the road. All the cars are parked on the side, and I've seen it firsthand. People are just queuing up there, and the people who are dropping off children in the middle of the road. That's why I asked. There is no statement where they will drop these.
Okay. Have you negotiated with the church in any way or not?
Nobody's made any attempt to consult with the local. It's a very close community. This is why one of the points that we were making, this has no benefit for the local community, such as creation of jobs, which was mentioned in the application. And there will be no provision for the local children, or there has been no provision for local children to attend this nursery.
That's a very strong statement. How do you justify that?
Because I see how they're operating right now. It's a church. It's a very enclosed community.
Okay, thanks very much.
I've tried on several occasions to go out on a Sunday and say hello to somebody and this and that and everything, and they won't reply to you. They just carry on with their
I'm
own
sorry,
work,
but there is already, as I said, there's tension in the area already, where they come as a group at the weekends currently, and sometimes in the weekdays, where if I had objection, they block the drive, I can't get out. There will be 4, 5, 6, very big group of them. So people are just tolerating this, but this is at a boiling point. This is my point.
Okay. Any other questions, please? Councillor Tony Lukey.
Gentlemen, I represent Ospey and Spring Grove Ward, where we do have a very large school, about 1,200 students being dropped off by car every day. And we've had to put in controls. Why could controls not be accepted here on Broad Walk? And down there at Wood Lane, In Sign Lane, number 152 Sign Lane, we have restrictions, and we have a public transport accessibility level of 1B, which is much less than the 2 that's being suggested here, which I think is probably a little bit more, because you've got buses nearby and you've got Hounslow West Station. But that, yeah, be that as it may, would you not accept some controlled parking there? Because even as it is, without and it is a place of religious worship as well, and we're meant to be tolerant of other faiths. Why can't we can we consider some parking controls down Broadwalk to satisfy the it wouldn't have to be a whole day, to satisfy your commuter parking, and B, to attend to any development here of a nursery for 30 kids, and it won't be necessarily be 30 kids from the same family. For these individuals, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a place of worship goes, there have not been any complaints. That's the reason why people are tolerating. It's a place of worship. If you say put a nursery there, why can't there be a nursery at somewhere where there's more provision already? Why not a school nearby? Why Broadwalk? And why bang in the middle of a residential area where already heavy goods traffic is going through there? People are parking there and going into the town. Why there? Why not any places nearby? Why, especially because it's not for the local children.
Yeah, but I mean, the school I'm referring to isn't really for local, entirely local children either. But so why could you not accept conditions and accept a controlled parking? You're concerned about commuter parking there. You will tolerate commuter parking, people leaving their cars all day. Hang on. You'll tolerate people leaving their cars all day. Why can't you tolerate, a 10-minute drop-off or pickup?
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going. No, I allowed the other gentleman to come in. No, I'm sorry. No, not at all. You have not got permission to speak. I'm the chair of this committee. I have given 2 members of your community time to speak. They were given that 5 minutes and the questions. I have allowed a supplementary. I'm not going to allow another one. Would you please sit back into the audience, please? I'm very sorry. I'd like you to sit back into the rest of the audience, please. I'm sorry. I was generous. I shouldn't have done it. I do apologize. I will not do that again. Would you please move yourself back?
Yeah,
and I'm very, very sorry that that's happened. It is not a general people come up and answer what they like here. Excuse me, we have a procedure. If you continue to keep talking, I will clear I will clear it. It's as simple as that. I have to follow. This is a judicial legal situation. I have a legal advisor next to me. I have to follow the correct procedure. That is for both of objectors as well as the applicants. Now, I'm very sorry that somebody wants to say something. You cannot do that. You have 2 people who can speak and answer our questions. Otherwise, as I said, if there's no other questions, then we will proceed to the applicants. Now, I'm sorry about this. I'd like to answer the question that was given you by Councillor Tony Lukey, who suggested that the CPZ, would you? That was the question. Would you be prepared?
The question was why, with restrictions, we can't have the nursery there, and as the gentleman alluded over there, the traffic situation on that road is pretty bad already at the moment. Even if we put the restrictions, there's not enough parking for the residents to park their cars there. So,
thank you. That's answered that question.
Chair, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Sorry, are there any other questions, please, at this point? Councillor Harleen Atwell-Hill.
No, I just wanted to say, so basically, you're saying, so with the church, it's quite full. The roads are quite, full with traffic. With a nursery there, it'll be even worse. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and currently,
Putting a
if
nursery
you look,
there.
there's cars parked on footpaths. I wish I had the pictures here. I had sent them in to Wendy. But there are examples of people being trapped and cars are parked.
Before the church came up just a few years ago, what was there before?
It was another church, and it was sort of not maintained properly. There was grass.
Was it just a church or was there something else?
It was a church.
Yeah. Were there other services there?
No, just church. And we were very glad they came, and actually they tidied the area. But it does get now very busy. Slowly, we used to be not many people, but it's all building up even bigger and bigger. And the parties at night time, there's a coffee shop there. They're having other events there.
So are you saying parties like with loud music? Worship music?
Mr. Kelsey's more nearer.
Next door.
I see lights and I see late people coming in very late. In fact, when this
I just wanted to say, when the church was there before this one,
yeah,
there used to be a Kumon center that was run within the church. How did they manage the traffic then?
Kumon.
Yeah,
Sorry, this is not really relevant. Can I just move? Can we move on, please? Sorry, we're just going round and round in circles at the moment. Okay, are there any other relevant questions, please, for the objectors? Anything? Right, Councillor Ajmed Grewal. Sorry. It's Councillor Ajmed Grewal's turn.
Sorry, just very quickly. The nursery permission, which was granted in 1968, has there ever been a day nursery there? Is there one there now, before in the years?
No.
So that was granted, but there was never a nursery there.
I've never seen.
Okay, thank you.
Never ever seen.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you very much indeed. Over to the officer, please, Matthew. Hang on, beg your pardon. It's my own fault. Sorry, moving swiftly back. Yeah, I'd like you. Could you sit back into the main body? Thank you. Okay, now the applicant would be here tonight. It's a speech from. We have Ian Taylor would be. He has a family bereavement, so he has sent us his speech. Now I'm happy to read that to you. Obviously, can't answer any questions because I really don't know any more than you do. Okay, so on behalf of the applicants, thank you for the opportunity to convey to the committee this evening just how important this project is to the church, to those children and parents, carers of the same who will attend the nursery, and to the wider local community. The benefits arising from the proposed nursery are numerous and truly cannot be underestimated. The key drivers behind this project have always been to provide children with a range of invaluable life skills, build their self-esteem, learn cognitive skills, and develop socially. The Church fully recognises that childminding provision also provides parents and carers with the opportunity to earn or supplement their living, to return to or indeed start work, all of which assists enhancing their self-esteem, their financial footing, and improve family coherence for all concerned. This project has been formulated against and in response to this background. It's considered clear there is a pressing demand for early years childcare education in the borough, due in part to increased unemployment and a corresponding decrease in income. These factors have placed pressures on existing facilities, many of which are already oversubscribed. A report commissioned by this council in 2020, the Childcare Sufficiency Annual Report, confirms the stresses and strains upon the local nursery sector and notes that many facilities fear closure and children being able to access those remaining facilities are often severely disadvantaged by both capacity and financial accessibility. The proposed nursery will provide space for up to 30 children. It'll be open to children from all backgrounds, be they members of the church or not. The whole ethos of the church's approach here is to achieve deeper integration into and contribute towards the local and wider community by facilitating access to reliable and safe nursery facilities within an established community setting on a site with immediate access to all those facilities necessary to realise a modern-day nursery for all parties. The church wishes to add they are not looking to realise a profit from the operation of the nursery. Accordingly, those attending would benefit from lower attendance fees without compromise in the level of service provided. The church recognises that concerns have been raised regarding car parking, access and vehicular movements. On this note, and as set out in the report before you, officers note that the period of nursery activity would be confined to periods when the church is not holding functions. 19 available parking spaces coupled with a travel plan and active management by staff of those dropping off, picking up children would result in an acceptable and manageable situation which would not lead to a reduction in highway safety. In terms of concerns raised in relation to perceived noise level increases, 7.17 of the report, the limit on the number of children attending, the number of hours coupled with the pressing need for additional educational facilities, all rendered the proposed acceptable when matters are considered. That the indoor and outdoor facilities associated with the nursery, the external soft play area, are already in existence and already available for use, reinforces that the proposal would be acceptable as no new facilities are required to realise the operation of the nursery. Whilst the proposal is considered acceptable in its own regard, it is appropriate to mention that consent was granted and implemented in 1968 to use the main church hall as a day nursery. That consent confirmed the acceptability of a dual-use community facility on this site. Whilst the proposed nursery would operate from a much smaller part of the building than that granted in 1968, the applicant considers that the site remains more than suitable to accommodate this dual use without detriment to issues of acknowledged importance. This scheme will deliver a high-quality nursery without the need for any external changes to the building or the site. The nursery will be run on a not-for-profit basis and provide affordable childcare facilities for up to 30 children from any walk of life. It is the applicant's firm view that this has been demonstrated through this application that to propose is policy compliant and that the many benefits arising from the same would outweigh the perceived harm identified. Accordingly, it is requested on behalf of the church and those children and parents carers who would be attending the facility that members recognise the significant benefits arising from the proposal and grant planning permission this evening. Okay, now Matthew, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. So just briefly starting on the slide, obviously we've got the church highlighted and Broadwalk just to the south of it. That's Springfield Road to the west, and the Great West Road is just to the south of this picture. I might stand up if that's okay, sorry, briefly, just to point to the screen behind me. But what I'm going to first show you is the actual location of where the nursery use would be. And then I'm going to secondly point out to where the external play areas are. So sorry, I'm going to go off microphone just to point this out at this point. So this area would be for the nursery itself. And these are the external areas. And this is where the external soft play area is.
Sorry, Matthew, can you go back and show us where the car parking is?
So this is the area car parking stuff around. So we have pictures in front of us now just to show you where the entrance to the parking is. So there are two entrance gates. Sorry, I'm not sure if I've got photos of both of them. Sorry, no, yeah. So there's two entrance gates. So now I'm looking at the floor plan. You can see the main access point, and there's another access point just to the top of that picture there. Sorry, so this is flipped. This is no longer north and south we're looking at. It's flipped on its side, and we can see the parking spaces there. The arrow points to the main access point. Then you can see there's access gates to the top of that picture, and there's also a smaller access gate to the bottom of that picture. So there's three separate access points to the property. Yeah, so sorry, there's pedestrian access to either side. So sorry, just go back up to the pictures. So that's the main vehicular access point. There's the car parking area. Again, so this is the front of the property car parking area. And this is the entrance to the nursery itself. So that's the area where the nursery would be in the conservatory and meeting room. So yeah, I've been on that slide. And then this is zoomed in on where the nursery area would be, showing the layout of the nursery. And that's all the slides I have for you. So as has been discussed, 30 children maximum on the site, opening hours 7:30 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. 9 staff. So there's 19 car parking spaces. And what is being suggested, what's been proposed is that the parking could be accommodated on site. So the pickup and drop off could be accommodated on site. They'd enter through the vehicular access point, drop off the child and drive off again. So they're suggesting that there won't be any disruption to the free flow of traffic on the road. Given Kieran's here, I'm not going to try and go into a huge amount of detail about parking access, if that's okay. I'm sure he'll take questions. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right. Okay, so members, we have questions, please, to the officers. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with Councillor Richard Foote.
Right, thank you, Chair. Can I just clarify? I mean, we've looked here, we're talking about an area for 30 children, but then looking at the staff, we've got 5 full-time staff and 4 part-time staff. Looking at the ages of the children, my guess is that these children are not there from 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. all day. They're likely split. Do we have any indication of what kind of levels and pickup time is? Not, I'm just getting a feel for it, but you know, we've talked about drop-offs all at 7:30 and pickups all at 6 p.m. But it's a long time since I've been involved in nurseries, but I can't really see how that's split and shoved. You know,
Yeah, so-
children are not going to be there for 9-10 hours.
So yes, sorry, it's been a full 3 or 4 hours since I've been involved in nursery, so I do have a bit of first-hand knowledge of this. But this is not presented as part of the application, so this is not part of the application document. But no, it's generally spread out throughout the day. You get free childcare for 30 hours during the week, or 15 hours or 30 hours free childcare during the week. There are specific core hours when that would be. So you'd find that more of the children are there for those free childcare hours. But in terms of actually making decisions at planning application, you can be very confident that they won't all come at the same time, because people have different needs, parents have different needs, they'll want to start work at different times, so they're not all going to roll up at 7:30. But we don't have specific times as part of this application. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you again, please, will you not talk? With this part of the meeting is for councillors to ask questions of the officers. The councillors, you've had your turn. Sorry, you've been asked. You were able to speak for 5 minutes at the beginning. You were asked questions for a considerable amount of time. You cannot now, please, keep saying other things. Now, it is down to the councillors to ask questions of the officers, because it's the councillors themselves that will be making this decision tonight. So please, can we have no more interruptions? Sorry, Councillor Richard Foote.
Yeah, sorry, I've finished my question.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ahmed Gurul.
Hi, thank you. Matthew, has a, what is it you call a traffic survey? Do you call it a traffic survey? Has it been done on that road?
No surveys have been done.
Are you thinking of doing it?
No, because in our opinion, the scale of the development, the restriction on the numbers of children that will come there, and obviously that's a maximum number of children. Parents won't usually put their, well, all parents won't put their children in for the full 5 days. Some might be working part-time, may only need it a few days a week, and also as Councillor Foote alluded to, the activity will be spread over a number of hours in the morning and a number of hours in the afternoon. So we don't feel it's necessary to do surveys for this scale of development.
Supplementary?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, it does say the comings and goings will be staggered. So that could be all during the day. They might be blocking people's drives if there's no parking there. I was under the impression there's only one driveway into the car park, and you were saying something about 2 gates?
Sorry, pedestrian gates, councillor. So one vehicular access gate, which is in the centre of the site, and then the northern, the side gates are pedestrian gates.
So
Okay.
sorry.
I'm not going to ask you again. Please be quiet. I'm
Just one-
terribly sorry, because I know this is something that you feel very strongly about, but you must remain quiet while councillors are asking questions and officers are answering. Please. Thank you. Sorry,
Sorry,
Ajma.
just one more. Is there a turnaround in the car park, or is it just going to be free for all and a nightmare to get in and out?
Yes.
Yeah, so as one of the conditions is requiring a car park management plan to make sure that can take place and recognise not to let a vehicle out to the access while another vehicle is coming in. So we'd expect that to be managed through the parking management plan.
They very rarely work, but thank you.
Okay. Questions? Right. Sorry, Councillor Alan Mitchell.
Yeah, in the absence of the applicant, I don't know whether you can answer this, but I just wonder whether you've had any, in terms of one of the objections was there's 3 nurseries and local schools in close proximity. Are we aware of any identified need for this extra provision, any specific identified need? Or is that not something that you can deal with, Matthew, which I understand?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one to deal with in general. That we did the needs survey in the year 2000, and the outcome of that is COVID's had a terrible impact in terms of people aren't using nursery places. They've been staying at home with their children. So there is actually, I think, probably an over provision was found at that time, and they're still trying to work out how working patterns are going to change in the future. But the answer to this is really it's a commercial entity. I mean, if there isn't demand for the nursery, then the children won't go. So that's how we would treat this planning application.
Councillor, sorry, Harleen.
Right, it's just a comment. What frightens me.
Sorry, this is questions at the moment.
Okay,
You can come
okay,
back with the
I'll-
comments in a minute. Come on, let's get the questions done first, please. Councillor Tony Lukey.
Is there anything specifically special about this this nursery? Is it of a Coptic Orthodox style, if you like, and teaching? That's one question. The other question is to Kieran. It's about traffic, and I did mention this before when I was asking the questions about the schools that we've given permission to, and the travel plans that have been created so far for those planning permissions are not working, and they were sold to councillors as though they would work, but they're not working. So how could we guarantee that this one? Yeah, I'm talking about Boulder Academy. I'm talking about Nishcam, West London, for example, where hardly anybody was going to be delivering their kids by car, but it's about 70% at the moment, and we've had to put in extra measures. So how could any use of this site, the pressures caused by the use of this site, be ameliorated? With other conditions, car park management plan, travel plan. How is that being sold to us by the applicant? He didn't really. Mr. Taylor didn't really say much in that aspect, apart from the needs survey. And the childcare sufficiency that Matthew Rees alluded to. Where is the evidence there that this is necessary, or is that not a requirement for an application like this? Because we do have a number of nurseries operating out of church halls across the borough. In various degrees. You know what I'm asking.
Okay, so apologies, no, we don't have any information about what they would teach within this nursery itself. Again, in terms of the need for nurseries, we don't have that information in front of us. It's because of the commercial nature of the scheme and the fact that we rely on commercial nurseries for the uptake. It's led by the need. So you wouldn't propose the nursery. You wouldn't get the nursery places if there wasn't a need for a nursery in this location.
The council and the education teams and the early years teams in the council do, and you mentioned it earlier on. You mentioned that there are childcare sufficiency analyses, i.e., how many places have we got for kids? Where is that information? Have you not brought it with you today?
Yeah, it's on the application file, Councillor. This is exactly what I referred to. They undertook the childcare efficiency in 2000. The outcome of that was we're in the middle of COVID. Ergo, there is actually an over provision of nursery places. People aren't taking up nursery place provisions. it concluded towards the end of the year 2000, and there was a trickle back of people to nurseries, but there was an over provision. And then if you read further down the report, the outcome of that is that we don't know where we stand at this point in terms of changing working patterns for what the need for nurseries will be. So that's the actual content of that report. It's not helping us in making this decision, I'm afraid. Sorry, 2020. Apologies. Sorry. Sorry. That's if I said that.
Matthew, sorry. I mean, the only thing I've got to relate to is what I read out, and it said that, and I don't know this report, Commission. I don't know if you do, Matthew. 2020, the Childcare Sufficiency Annual Report, and they seem to have a different slant on what you've just said. But you've just said that, and my knowledge is that there's been less take up of nursery places across the borough, purely and simply because people have kept children at home for obvious reasons, which I don't think anyone is. But they're using this to say that there needs to be there's a lack of facility, but we don't know one way or the other because we have no proof one way or the other as to what that is, because your interpretation, and I would stick with yours because you're not asking for anything here, but that there is lack of take up of places, and therefore some commercial nurseries we know have closed. Now what they've said, it's not commercial, but of course they'll want, they won't want to lose money, will they, on this, fairly obviously. So we haven't got real facts, have we, here, as to whether there is a lack in this area. Springfield West, you said, wasn't there, is the local school, which I know that's the one that's got a nursery. Yes, that's right. That's got a nursery, which of course is a lot, and that is quite a large catchment area, and it's quite a large school in comparison. They don't have babies, no. But what we don't know, so we actually aren't really clear, are we, on if there's a reason for that or not. That is that something we can determine as a planning reason? Because to me it's a difficult one, because we have an application on the face of it here, but we know lots of people are asking lots of questions about whether it's necessary, it's not necessary, and coupled with the perceived problem with pick up and looks like it might be pick up and all the way through the day. And that sounds to me what the residents are complaining about, is that it's not 68, it's not 30 cars coming at one particular time of the day, but it could be, or another time of the day, but it could be coming and going and coming and going. And if there is already problems parking there, and we all talk about the usefulness of a CPZ or not, the fact is, if people are having I can see where the tensions have come here. So I just don't know. Have we got enough facts? Do we think? This is kind of a roundabout one. Do you think we have enough facts to make a decision?
So we have information from 2020, which is telling us we don't have enough information in terms of the need for childcare provision. But just to take a step back, in terms of the consideration of this planning application, we aren't losing a use that we're seeking to prevent. So there isn't a planning grounds for refusing a nursery in this location if you don't have any harm resulting from it. So as long as there isn't harm resulting from it, there's no grounds for refusing it on the basis of the need for a nursery. And as I say, I think the agent is using that our own publication to suggest that there's so much strain on the existing childcare that they're here to pick up as a non-profit organisation the slack that's resulting from the strain on them. So the information we have information to say that there isn't enough because of the changing times, we don't have enough information to make a decision on. So deferring it and reading this statement back, it doesn't help us. So we don't have that information to hand in terms of the need for. Is
there a reason for deferring till we could get the applicant here? Because having that there's a lot of questions. This raises more questions in my mind than I had before I actually read that statement out, and I had only just seen it, so I hadn't had previous sight of that till I read it. So there's lots of questions in there that I would like to ask, which I think Councillor Alan Mitchell would like, Councillor Richard Foote would like, Councillor Ajmer would like. I don't, Matt's question. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, I just suddenly spotted Mel. Sorry, Mel.
Yes, Chair, thanks. I was going to ask whether it's desirable and having the accolade of Mr. Deferral, but I think there's too many imponderables here for us to make a decision tonight. And I would just like to throw one other thing in the mix, that if we do move deferral, one of the important things that we need to bring back is a comprehensive and cohesive traffic management plan. And I think that should be as important as whether or not it's desirable or otherwise to have the nursery there.
Thank you,
So
Mel.
therefore,
Right,
those are my two reasons for moving deferral.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Richard, are you about to second that, or are you going to say
I was
something?
going to say something, but I'd also second it. But,
Okay, thank you. So would you like to say
in
something?
saying that, I think that certainly a traffic plan is one that is required. And I think, the comment I think yourself made that, sort of with the concentration of 30 children and them coming at different parts of the day, you could look at it in a different light that says it actually dissipates the amount of traffic that's there at any one point in the day. So I think that, this is not, that's why we need a traffic plan, I think, in order to try and identify what that is.
Okay. Well, we have deferral on the table. What can I just explain? What this will mean is that it will be deferred tonight. We will ask the officers to go and do various bits and pieces of work that we have asked for. This will come back to either the next or the following. Maybe not the next one, but it may be the next one, depending on how long it takes to get the travel survey done. You will be able to go through your objections again, or new objections as well as the old objections, and hopefully we'll have the applicant here to answer the questions that we can't answer at the moment. We don't know what those are. So we have more questions than we have answers, I think, at the moment. So on the table is deferral. Can I see all those in favour of deferral, please? It looks like right. 8, is it? Okay, those against deferral, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's 8-5, so that is deferred. Yes, Mel?
Yeah, this isn't a planning matter, but I think it's a matter of moral. Could we write to Mr. Taylor and offer the condolences of the committee on his bereavement?
That certainly can be done. That's over to Wendy. Okay, that's not a problem. And I think we might, with Councillor John Todd.
I don't enjoy voting against deferral, but I mean, we've got a hotel coming up. Are we going to ask the applicant whether he thinks it's going to be viable? He's going to fill the rooms?
No,
no.
I think that's a separate issue. Okay,
But
so
it's not actually.
No. Right. So we have deferred. This has been deferred. Okay. There are a couple of suggestions of we need a travel plan, and we also. Sorry.
Noise.
Yep, the noise. Something. What do you want with the noise?
Because if you read 7.17,
yes,
it says that, like, in addition,
that's right.
Well, there would likely to increase in noise as a result
Okay.
of the proposed
Sorry.
development.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So we need some sort of observation.
7:17. Yeah, noise report. Okay, so that is determined. I want to move standing orders, please. Thank you, Mel. Can I have seconded, please? Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have 2 more items to be done now.
Chair,
Yes.
I have to leave 9:30.
Sorry?
I have to leave 9:30.
That's fine. Right, we're moving on to the next item. Okay, Beckett's Close, Feltham. Officer, Matthew. Sorry, I don't think so. No. Come on, let's move on. Right, Matthew. Sorry? Oh, you have 2 minutes. Okay, people, can we, excuse me, if you wish to chat, could you chat outside, please? Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. We have two more planning applications to discuss. First one, item 6, 7 Beckett's Close, Feltham. Matthew?
Thank you, Chair. I'll run through this quite quickly. So existing garage site, garages are being demolished. Excuse me. We're on Beckett's Close, so this is North Feltham. The proposal is for, sorry, actually, I go a bit slower through the photos, excuse me. So these are the photos showing you the existing garages. And looking back out to Beckett's Close. So this is the application site, and the proposal is for a two-storey building with 2 times 2 bedroom and 2 times 1 bedroom flats, all affordable housing. There's a front elevation CGI view. Again, more CGI views. This is the application plan itself, so you'll note amenity space to the rear. Some floor plans showing the arrangements of the floor plans. Yeah, there's a front elevation and side and rear elevation, and excuse me, section for the site. Recommending approval on the basis that we believe it's in keeping with the character of the area. It's sustainable scheme, affordable housing. We do not believe it impacts on the amenities of neighbouring properties, and there's no parking as part of this scheme. Garages are being lost here, but the garages aren't in use; they're not let. So we're suggesting there isn't going to be a net increase of parking in the area from the loss of those garages. If it's okay, I'll perhaps leave it at that and answer questions. It's in front of you tonight because of the level of public objection we received. We received, I think it was a 90-signature petition objection to the scheme. The reasons for objection are listed within the report, but I think we've also addressed most of those issues. So yeah, as I say, recommended for approval, and I'll take any questions.
Matthew, can you just emphasize the fact that we are looking at four houses, four flats. Sorry, I'll move this myself. We are looking at 100% affordable, and we're looking at the London rent.
That's correct, yes.
Right, okay. Okay, any questions? Councillor Mel Collins, can you move approval? Can I have the seconder for that? Councillor Gary Gurul, thank you. Okay, people are in favour. Can I see? Please, that's everybody. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Okay, now for the hotel in Chiswick.
Okay, 632 Chiswick High Road. So this is a site between the Peugeot garage and it is the Saudi embassy. So it's the relatively slim plot of land that you can see there. Sorry. So northern side Chiswick High Road by the roundabout. You can see the plot of land there between the Peugeot garage and the embassy, to be filled by a 6-storey hotel should you resolve to grant permission tonight. There it is there by the Peugeot garage. You can see the 5-storey frontage there, and the 6th floor is set back. And then I'll run through the floor plans, but it's a hotel, so offering restaurant and shared parts to the front, and then moving up through the light green shows the hotel rooms and the elevations. So you can see it's a similar scale to the embassy next door, and some side elevations there. I just stress that the side elevations, you don't really see the side elevations from the street. It's quite a slim plot of land, so there's only glimpsed views of those side elevations. I'll go back and I'll linger on CGI. Yes, if I may draw your attention to the addendum, as the chair referred to earlier, we unfortunately, misrepresented a representation from the West Chiswick and Gundry Society. It's now updated in the addendum, and their concerns, no principal objections to the hotel, but some concerns about access to the front and the design of it and impact on the conservation area to the south of the site. Again, we're suggesting it's broadly in keeping with the area and a suitable design, and I think, again, if I can defer to Kieran if there's any questions on parking and access. So yeah, recommended for approval, and I'll take questions from there.
And I think just to clarify that the the West Chiswick and Gunnersbury Society were concerned about safety of pedestrians for a variety of traffic movements, including, I think it was recycling, I presume rubbish collection, and also any cars moving in and out. That was the other thing that I picked up.
Yeah.
But Councillor John Todd, any questions?
Absolutely, and I'm looking at the corrected late report, and very interesting to note that the society are very worried about the need for this hotel viability, and there's too many hotels in the area. But I'll let you decide on that, Chair. The more serious concern is the access road, which we've touched on. I'm tempted to talk about the style. What do our architects, our panel say about this hotel? Is it unique style, or looks a bit of a workhouse?
I didn't go to the design review panel, sorry. But in keeping with the character of the embassy next door, not out of scale of it. When it comes to the actual individual architectural details of it, we aren't allowed to impose any kind of design discipline. We're just looking at the scale of it and whether it's comparable. I mean, it's a hotel, so you would expect more fenestration to the front there.
Okay, but we do respect that committee's valuable guidance. And to say it's in line with the car showroom is a bit of a stretch of credibility, I think. But can we return to the access road? I think it's a very valid point, Matthew. I'll stop being flippant, I apologise. It's a very narrow road. There is a large footfall on that particular road. The point others make too, it's close to a roundabout. I think Tony may have mentioned that. Are we being inflexible because they're demanding a large building to make it viable or not? Is there nothing we can do?
Sorry, what was the concern with the access road?
Well, have you read the report?
Oh, in terms of the
Have you read
width?
the report?
I have, yeah, and I've fed into it. Yeah, in terms of they have provided swept paths showing that it can accommodate 11-meter vehicle. We do have concerns about how that swept path was undertaken. So we've gone back and through the delivery and servicing plan, we're going to limit it to a 7.5 ton vehicle.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, unless they can demonstrate successfully that
But the
11-meter vehicle can.
Sorry, I overtalked you. I do apologise. The other, again, I think very valid point, because the traffic is high here. Most people know that, especially rush hour. The suggestion is that traffic coming towards the Chiswick roundabout, who want to use it, will turn right across the flow of traffic. What can you do about that?
As part of the Persia site, the central island has been extended to almost come back across in front of the access to the site.
So stop it.
Basically, stop it. Yes.
Sorry, I declare an interest. I have a Peugeot. I know, and my Peugeot came from that place, so I know that bit very, very well. So I know that bit's okay. What I was more concerned about was the actual access road.
You take my point, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
That was,
well,
and I thought that they put it very politely in their other email that came, because obviously it's the pedestrians that we are concerned about there. Obviously, because
we'll
they're
make our way
vulnerable
to
ones.
B&Q.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Right. Sorry, Councillor Richard Foot.
Yeah, I just a bit confused by the. I'm just a bit confused by the comments about lack of pavement space. Is that the pavement that we're seeing on there now that leads down? Yeah, I know, but is it the pavement from the front? I'm sorry? I've got three people talking.
Sorry, Richard, that is the front, right? And to get into it, the actual access into the hotel, because the hotel, in order to get the rubbish and all the other things out, you've got to go inside to pick the stuff up to bring it out. So as a vehicle, so our normal vehicles got too big.
You were talking about, that's the side. I'm talking about the pavement was referenced.
No, that's a different pavement.
That's a pavement.
Can you see it up there? Look.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking. Is that because all I'm seeing is a taper, so I don't know if it's distance tapering it or. So that's not the pavement we've referred to. So what's that pavement? Where's the entrance to the hotel?
the entrance to the hotel. That is the service road entrance, the grey bit. all
Yeah,
right?
and so the
then there's
pavement-
There's that little bit there that is a pavement, and there's a big bit there that is a bit of a pavement in front of where Corinna gets her car service, and a little bit beyond is it's a torture place run by the Saudis. I don't know where the blood where they train the blood from.
Can I? Yeah, I'll ask you. So that pavement outside the hotel.
We do apologise for any listeners that might have been offended.
Yeah, can I? Yeah, the pavement outside the hotel is what width?
It's going to be no narrower than it is at the moment, but I can measure it roughly from our.
Sorry, I was just being confused by all of the pictures and everything. But
Yeah, so like I said, it's going to be no narrower than currently, and it's like 2.8 meters wide.
2.8 meters. So, okay, that's pretty wide. Yeah. Yeah, that's the side. We're talking about the front.
Rick, sorry, Guy. Yes, I'm just coming back. Councillor Guy Lambert.
You won't see it.
Yeah, I'm concerned about parking. I think that the suggestion it's a car-free development, therefore no cars will come, is ludicrous. I mean, it's a hotel. Lots of people will arrive in cars. The last one we deferred on the basis that parking was a problem. If you look on Google Earth, there's not a car to be seen in the streets around that church. If you look around this hotel on Google Earth, it's all CPZ, and the CPZ is pretty full. So, the reality is people will arrive by car, I believe, and that there will be great difficulty and problems with parking. So, according to I haven't seen this in the main report, but according to the addendum, the applicant is saying, oh, well, they can park in the surrounding streets. Well, in my opinion, that's nonsense. I don't think they can. So there's not. It doesn't really say anything about car parking, and it says other than that we must have an electric vehicle space or something, and that we've checked and it's accessible. But it doesn't. It also goes along with the assumption that nobody's going to arrive by car, or if it doesn't go along with that assumption, there's nothing to say what will happen with the cars that do turn up. So that I would like to get clarified.
Yeah, in terms of the number of spaces on site, yes, there's only one for blue badge holders, and that would be fitted with an EV charging point. The lack of parking is almost required by the London plan for such an accessible site. There is a risk that some people may choose, despite the lack of parking, that they may choose to take the chance and park legitimately or illegitimately on surrounding roads. I was just looking at hotels myself the other night, and where hotels, especially these chain hotels, don't have parking, they tend to kind of highlight that because nobody wants to turn up at a hotel expecting parking and not to be provided with parking. So I suppose that's one disincentive, or one way to promote the car-free nature of it. And like you pointed out, all the surrounding streets are in CPZs, and if the CPZ, they're quite extensive. I think it's 9:30 or 9:30 to 6:30 all day. Permit only. So if it's the case that isn't sufficient, we're always reviewing CPZs. I think we're in the middle of a CPZ review for this CPZ currently. So that's something that we could address in the future if it did become a problem.
Councillor Tony Lukey.
I mean, really following on from that, I'm going to ask another question, but really following on from that, yes, we review CPZs, and we've had reviews in my ward, but some people who live nearby may rely on the CPZ operating until say 5:30, or maybe not operating at a weekend. And if these places are going to get taken up by hotel users or anybody else, then that will impact neighbours. Just because it's not advertised that just because hotels do not advertise car parking, that doesn't necessarily put people off arriving by car, because they will say, okay, well, let's look elsewhere in the neighbourhood to see where you can park your car. Be that as it may, I am dismayed, because I mean, you know, we kind of take it or leave it with the design panels here. You know, for the Tesco Homebase site, we had the design panel that said, yeah, the proposals were rubbish, and then but we still accepted the rubbish proposals. We ignored the design panel. Here we haven't even considered the design panel here, and I would not say the killing place next door, sorry, the Saudi cultural centre next door is of design quality, or something that if it was to come back, it's you know, it's kind of a postmodern nightmare, really. You know, on the site of the old Gunnersbury Church there. So I don't know why, you know, I don't know why we're accepting this. It looks like the old Safety Clean building on the London Road. You know, horrible brown brick. You know, what's the excitement here? Why is that attracting? You know, why would a tourist want to stay here? And why are we accepting this nonsense, Matthew?
So yeah, just again, it's you can't impose a design discipline on a specific building. What we more have to look at is whether it's integrating to the scale of the locale, and whether it's integrating with the design palette of the local buildings. And yes, they've gone with the scale of the Saudi building, and broadly they've attempted to replicate the materials on that property, not exactly. So we don't believe it's having a detrimental impact on the character of the area, which is the test we're running here.
Any other questions, please? Okay, so over to comments, please. Anybody? I'm looking around the room. Anybody want to? Right, Councillor Michael Dennis. Nice to see you tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Very, very kind. No, I may be in the minority here, but I welcome the lack of parking in this particular application, because I follow local plan policy EC2 in seeking to secure a more sustainable local travel network, encouraging the use of walking, cycling, using public transport. And I think it dovetails quite nicely with the council's own objectives to have you know, addressing the climate emergency and encouraging people to change the use of transport. I'm sure people won't just turn up in a car and say, "Oh no, there's no car park." They will plan it. They will get in touch with the hotel. I'm sure they will just use the 237 bus, which is an excellent public transport network, and use that. So it's not I use 237 to get here, but no, it's very you know, we've got very good public transport. I don't see that as negative, and I would actually I welcome the use of space. I think car parks, having a huge car park, would be very inefficient. Nice to use the land and space that we have to build this building. So I may be the minority here, but that's just my view. So
So were you moving something?
oh, I could move approval. Yes. Oh, move
Okay.
approval.
We've got a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Gary. Thank you very much. Okay, we have approval on the table. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you. Okay, and can I then see those against? So, right, right, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Have you got those? Hang on a minute. Guy, Tony, Mel, Alan. Against. Yeah, everybody else is 4. Okay, well, that has passed. That's been approved. Okay, right, we have a couple of more tiny bits to do tonight, people. Okay, planning update report was to be noted. May I say that in noting this, most of us were here earlier today to hear earlier this evening to hear Matthew. No, sorry, wrong. Matt Robinson talking, accepting the fact that we needed more detailed information, so that something that was so-called closed or would now become pending and then whatever action was and where it was, and various other things, which we will circulate you with once we've got those bits and pieces together. But just so it's on the table, it's for noting. Tony?
Yeah, just I accept that and the noting, and it's on the table, and we get to see it. I think this should be a public document, and it should be on the planning website somewhere with addresses, locations, addresses, and wards, so that we can recognise it. I for one, I have a long list in my ward of outstanding enforcements. And I'd like to see them all in one place, so that you can see if it tallies up with councillors' perceptions and residents' perceptions. And then there's absolutely no reason why any of this. Sometimes it's a good hit. By any of this should not be on a public website, on the council website with detail. So people, if we can refer residents to these stats and to these updates, and then they can track progression, and they can hold us to account as we hold officers to account, because it's a serious business, as I made clear at the last meeting, Chair.
Any comments?
Chair.
So some of that be protected by GDPR, councillor. We can't release necessarily. I mean, particularly if it's an address where we're finding it as not expedient to take enforcement action. So if we receive a complaint on a property and there's no breach, we don't want to just say that property's been had a complaint against it. But we'll think of a way of presenting it, and then maybe circulate that with members or even councillors in general as a way of how we're going to present this information. And then, it's fine to get on the website.
Okay. Sorry, councillor. I'm sorry, Virginia.
Sorry, supplementary. That I second what Tony is saying. Once the prosecution started, I think under GDPR, we should get away with that, I think.
So as soon as it becomes public information, then it's fine.
Yes.
It's free.
I think that will help the council to see the name and shame sort of thing, I think.
Yes, exactly. I mean, name and shame is one way of putting it, but also when you demonstrate you've taken enforcement powers, it's a deterrent as well. So it works both ways. Yeah.
Sorry, what I was going to say is we'll better check the legal bit. We'll check the legal bit. We'll ask the legal beavers to beaver for us. Thank you. And what we can do, we will do. Okay. Is that all right, Tony?
Well, yes, of course. But, of late, I've noticed officers hiding behind GDPR. I want to know what's going on in my ward. And I want officers to trust councillors that they will keep keep this information to themselves. But if I've got a case and I've sent to you, I want to know what's going on with that case from start to finish, GDPR or not. It's been bandied about an awful lot of late.
Okay. Take that for granted. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, there's lots of stuff that does come to the councillors from officers that is only for us, for our eyes only. And this seems to fit into that situation. But if there's anything that can be done that's like a publicly thing, then let's do that. Councillor John Todd, and we're very close to finishing. Sorry, that's to the...
I have objections about details being publicised. Councillors updated, yes, but not publicised. At the very early stage of the intervention, it's when the case is proved or made substantial then.
John, I don't think anyone disagrees with you on that. I think that's really well. You can have a little fight afterwards. No, he's agreeing with you. So, okay, we're all in agreement on that one. Okay, so, finally, there's no other business. Okay, there's none that I consider urgent. Date of next meeting is 2nd of December, 2021. No. We'll follow it on. We'll follow it on this, and every time they score, Mel, I'll make sure you know. Okay, how's that? Okay, thank you all very much for your attendance. Thank you.